Okay, so I kind of forgot this episode came out on the 12th, and to be fair, it was Mother's Day. So I was a lot more busy this year than I was last year. But not the point. The point is, we have a 50-minute episode, basically, that I'm going to review. I'm going to divide it in 3 specific things, because I think these 3 things are more or less important. So let's get started. This first portion has to quite literally be dedicated to what I'm not familiar with. This content. Wind Hashira and Snake Hashira working together. The 2 jackasses. It's pretty interesting because, I mean, yeah, Snake Hashira is just an annoying little bitch. But Wind Hashira, oh boy, do I dislike him the most. However, I will not discredit that the dude knows how to fight. And his wind breathing style is interesting, as well as the animation. I think one thing I want to say is that the animation itself is beautiful. I will always like Demon Slayer's animation, but that's probably gonna try to not say that too many times. But yeah, animation beautiful. Seeing them basically work together, seeing these 2 Demon Slayers survive is interesting because yeah, they're not any Hashira level. They're not even Tanjiro and his group level. They're just regular Demon Slayers that manage to survive the insanity that is a ton of demons in one area. So I think the excuse for this part, at least in terms of why it's unique, is because these 2 don't get a lot of screen time and we don't see a lot of their abilities aside from them fighting like top tier characters. But it is still cool watching them in action. Yeah, I dislike them, but I mean, watching action stuff is always pretty cool.
I would also like to point out that these 2 saw the Infinite Castle, basically giving us, the viewers, a glimpse on where the next battle is going to take. So it's pretty cool seeing these 2 basically see a demon escape and also be confused as hell, because I mean, who wouldn't be confused by those events? But other than that, I love it.
So thumbs up for this portion. The second portion is going to just specifically go to Tanjiro and his group because, my gosh, all of the Hashira stuff would be pretty long, so we'll save that for the third part. So, how is Tanjiro doing? Dude took quite a lot of damage last season, and yeah, he's doing pretty well. He's trying to emulate what is Mitsuri's crazy eating habits, which, I mean, she's just an anomaly. She has the Saiyan appetite. I think that's the best way to describe it. So, with his story is basically not just him, but his group. Zenitsu comes back because, you know, he's all happy to basically see everyone, and it's been a while since we've seen him in the main story. Only for Nezuko to appear, which, oh my gosh, dude has the biggest freak out ever, reminding us, the audience, of just who he is. Before, this entire scene is just laughably hilarious. Especially when Nezuko speaks and calls him Inosuke. And it is explained that Inosuke was trying to teach her how to say his name correctly. So she's happy because she managed to get the name right. And Zenitsu has a pausing moment because his mind kind of needed a second before it realized what happened. And then he just completely snaps. He goes to try to murder Inosuke for this, as he sees it as a violation to his relationship with Nezuko. You know, the usual. Tanjiro gets his new sword from Haganesaka, and yeah, the dude is quite holding back all of the insanity he wants to throw at them, since he's still very bitter that they used the sword when he told them not to. And other than that, I mean, it's an impressive sword. He's even mentioned that the first one who crafted the sword must have been quite the crafter. But other than that, yeah, he's super pissed at Tanjiro and says he has to give him a lifetime of dumplings for the rest of his life, basically. So, I mean, yeah, he's pissed, but he's not as pissed as, say, every other time we've seen him before. So, I guess this is a win for Tanjiro. And then lastly, of course, all the Hashira training stuff, which we'll go more in depth on the next part. But for This part in particularly, Inosuke comes flying into it. Genya's super mad because, I mean, at this point, he just wants to rest. And yeah, Tanjiro is alerted that from Inosuke and Zenitsu about what's going on. So in regards to that, Tanjiro's going to get training from the Hashiras because this is the Hashira training arc. And Zenitsu's not having fun at all. Like, the dude just wants to break. And Tanjiro's positivity is causing him to have a mental breakdown and nearly kill Tanjiro, if anything else.
And to end this little part off, I'd like to mention that Tanjiro had told Zenitsu that he had used a similar movement to how Zenitsu uses thunder breathing and his movements. Essentially saying that it's thanks to Zenitsu's help in showing him how it works that he was able to even catch up to Upper Moon 4. And Zenitsu, I mean, he's being a bit of a tsundere, because, I mean, he's still mad at the whole situation with the training arc, but that did brighten up his mood. So, yeah, good work, Tanjiro. You made Zenitsu less mad.
As for the Hashira, the big thing with them is their meeting, which essentially boils down to them wanting to know about the marks. And also that the master isn't joining them anymore because of his sickness and all that. So, there's that aspect. But the bigger aspect I want to go over is the fact that they're all discussing. You have Mitsuri, who, funnily enough, does the Tanjiro thing. That they basically just explain the feelings and not the actual way to get it. Which essentially boils down to her being embarrassed and causing everyone to just kind of be dumbfounded. Even Giyu, who rarely showed emotion. So, yeah, that was funny. Then you have Muichiro, who manages to explain away the situation. Like, more or less, he explains that he didn't really feel himself in this power-up, but he was able to, at the very least, tell perhaps what conditions need to be met in order for one to reach said mark form. Now, he mentioned that you have to be over 102 degrees and your heartbeat has to be like 200, which essentially means any normal human would die from that, which is something he brings up that, those who get the mark are the ones who can't survive, and those that don't, well, they don't survive. But there's also the factor that the Demon Slayer Corps rarely, if anything, have barely any knowledge of the marks. The only big factor is that the way for a mark to appear would have to be through one person. It's usually that one person that tends to cause everyone else's marks to start to appear. We all know that the first Demon Slayer who created the breathing styles, Yorichi, is the one with the mark that essentially dominated the Golden Age. And now we have Tanjiro being the one who has unlocked the abilities for everyone else to also unlock their Demon Slayer marks. So that's point number one for this. Point number two is the fact that Giyu is trying to separate himself from the group, which obviously does piss Sanemi and Obanai off. Because, I mean, he already pissed them off earlier when he made a comment. But it is more implied that Giyu is just trying to separate himself from everyone, so it's causing a bunch of tension. Sanemi is about to go and punch him, and then our boy Stone Hashira comes in with just a simple clap of his hands, and that basically gets everyone's attention, proving why he's the top dog of the group. But he proposes something, which is, the Hashira training stuff. But after this, Q, once again, dips and actually ends up on his own, this time so isolated, which brings Tanjiro into this, since the master later on in the episode sends a message that, hey, go talk to Giyu, like bring him back to the fold, because he's kind of being a loner again. But that's a whole different situation that'll be in next episode's thing. But the main one is basically the big reveal. If you get the mark, you're done. Like, no one past 25 with the unlock the mark survives. So essentially, Mitsuri and Muichiro, unfortunately, are basically marked for death. And anyone else who wants to achieve this mark, despite its power-up, its downside is, well, you aren't living past 25. So you have that, and also the Demon Slayer Corps, aware that, Muzan is preparing his troops to essentially go and capture Nezuko. which is now the final goal. Prevent Muzan from getting Nezuko, as well as trying to kill Muzan. Because the moment Muzan gets Nezuko, that's it. It's game over. No Demon Slayer is winning. But another thing is, they're aware that a big fight's coming, and that they're gonna need every single Demon Slayer ready for it. Which is hence the arc, the Hashira training. Each one has only trained like their successor, but now they have to train the whole core because everyone has to be on high alert for what's to come. So each Hashira, as well as Tengen, our amazing sound Hashiras, come back to essentially assist in this training and show off the basics of the harsher trainings, with our Stone Hashira being the final level. So yeah, that is the crux of this long episode. The Hashira stuff, the very interesting things with them. Although technically I did say 3 parts, this is a bonus part, and this happens at the end of the episode regarding Miss Tamayo, because the Korra has found her with the little crow obviously speaking, and then obviously saying that Yushiro is kind of what led them to her, and that, yeah, he's fine considering he's the stair steps, which I will put the scene that this is representing of him just being a simp like usual. But the whole point of this part is just to say that, yeah, they want her to come to the Demon Slayer Corps' headquarters, which he is nervous as hell about, because they need her help to stop Muzan, which is the whole point of this episode, is to defeat Muzan. Everyone is gathering together in order to beat this big threat that is just looming over everyone. Overall, I honestly think that this episode, despite being long, it does provide the important necessary ingredients for what this arc's gonna be. Because this is the calm before the storm. We're heading into the final arcs, gentlemen. And we're about to see the greatest fights. Like, this episode had amazing animation. But wait till you see the battle against the Upper Moons and Muzan. That's when the animation will peak. I want to guarantee it.